So in the following, we will have a look at Hadoop. This is one MapReduce implementation, arguably the most prominent one and most widely used one. And this discussion should serve as an example how such a system could work and how such a system can be used by users. First, the Hadoop distributed file system is also modeled after the description provided by Google some years earlier. And I have mentioned already in the very beginning of MapReduce the main concept. So the main concept is, first of all, it's a distributed file system. And the files are cut into big chunks. And these chunks are like, for instance, 64 megabyte big. In contrast to the relatively small block sizes on disk, as we know from database systems courses. So here in the illustration, you have different nodes. And these blocks are assigned to the nodes. This worked in the version 2.7. This was implemented like this. So there was one dedicated node that was called name node. And with this name node, keeping track about meta information, where the file names are located and the replicas of these file blocks, the clients could read and also write to this distributed file system. And using an UI, you can have a look at the properties of the HDFS, for instance, how many nodes are participating, how many space is left, how much space is used, and so on. One property of the distributed file system is replication. So the default replication factor was 3. And this is also done using knowledge about the setup of your data center. We call that rack-aware. And the replication is so-called pipelined. So whenever you're writing a block, then this block will be written or will be occupied to a full extent. And then the name node is asked for another data node that can hold the replica of this block. And then this data node is contacted, receives data, and then this whole screen continues, and the data will be forwarded to the third replica and so on in a pipeline. And this is one way you can implement replication, of course, and this is how it was done in Hadoop. We have mentioned earlier on already that these blocks are also called input splits. So if you have like a huge file, and this file is placed in a distributed file system, and you're looking at the individual chunks, it can happen that the contents of one, let's say, text document, which is written here in this line, is touching this block as well as this block, because the block size of 64 megabyte would cause this let's say, transition from one block to the other. This sounds a little bit confusing, or it is confusing when you think about writing code for the map function that would work properly. However, luckily, the Hadoop implementation, depending on the choice of readers for these map tasks, they take care of this, so we do not have to get concerned about documents beginning in one block and ending in the other. For instance, if you have one line, would be one XML document, let's say, or JSON document, and then this part of this line would be in one block and the other. You don't have to care about this. In case you're wondering, this is all taken care of. So how does the job execution work? Well, first of all, you have to implement your map and reduce functions in the APIs, so given the APIs that Hadoop is providing. And then you're starting a so-called job on your local virtual machine. And then this job would contact the so-called job tracker node that would starting this job in the MapReduce cluster. So your node doesn't have to be part of the cluster. It would typically not be part of the cluster. You're just using this communication interface to send your code in form of a job to this job tracker node. It's important to note that this is only one way it was realized, an early way this was realized in Hadoop. Later on there were more fancy and more scalable and fault-tolerant implementation of this job execution implemented. So this job tracker node now is responsible for retrieving information about the input splits. So now we go and look at the file system, the HDFS, and the so-called task tracker nodes. Once you have retrieved the input splits, the information about it, then these task trackers will be created. They are accessing the distributed file system where they retrieve the job resources, that is the code that you have given or submitted to the job tracker, which is stored in HDFS as well. And these task tracker nodes then create or launch processes, map or reduce depending on the type of child process that is run here. So basically there are several tasks that need to be implemented in Hadoop. You have to implement the instantiation, the resource, let's say identification, which input splits are necessary to process. And then you have to instantiate these individual processing nodes. And the job tracker keeps track about the progress. In case there are problems, has to re-execute or restart the execution. And there's also UIs that would monitor, or you can monitor using these UIs, the progress of your map and reduce tasks. So again, putting it short, how do you start a Hadoop job? You compile your code, you create a jar file, you're sending this jar file to the Hadoop cluster. And then by doing this is already starting the MapReduce job. There will be, if you're doing this in the terminal in Linux or Windows, you will see plenty of output and updates on the percentage or degree of completion. And in the end, when everything was done successfully, you will find the results of the computation in HDFS. So a simple example here, you're compiling the word count example. Here you have to give the class path of all the required libraries that ship with Hadoop, so that the API is known to Java compile. You're creating a jar file out of the compiled classes, and then you're submitting this jar file to the Hadoop cluster by using the command Hadoop, the option jar, and then the jar file, and then here's the name of the main class file, and here are input and output specified. So we will provide a virtual machine you can download, where this is already all set up. The Hadoop environment for local setup in this machine, in this local virtual machine, and this should work right out of the box. In the end, as I said, when everything is done, the computation was successful, in the specified output folder there will be a file called success. You have one file per reducer, and you can then inspect using the HDFS command line to see what's inside these files. As I said, we have provided a virtual machine. This is like the easiest way. If you want to install it yourself, you're getting like a version, for instance 2.8. You install, for instance, Oracle JDK, and then you setting up Hadoop yourself. It's a little bit, it's not very complicated, but it can be sometimes a bit cumbersome to adapt the configuration files and getting the the writes right on your machine, that these individual ports can be used and so on. So it can be a little bit trouble, so I would suggest you doing this or using this MapReduce by getting our virtual machine where everything is already set up properly. There's so-called stragglers, or there can be stragglers, which are slow nodes, which are not keeping up with the pace of the others. And as you can imagine, if you have a Hadoop job consisting of thousands of nodes or processes, and one is very slow, you cannot really use the results, or you don't have the global results ready because there's one still not being able to finish. And in order to do this, there can be also like a restart of nodes which were slow, and the job tracker is keeping track of this. So it continuously controls the progress and then is able to restart so-called stragglers. There's also the concept of speculative execution. So you're executing the task on multiple nodes. And if you see that one of these tasks is underperforming, then you can kill it and the other one can continue. As I mentioned in the very beginning, one of the cool things about MapReduce or Hadoop MapReduce is that you don't have to care about node failures, right? So this is all done by the underlying infrastructure, the implementation of MapReduce. So you only have to implement the MapReduce function, everything else is done automatically. There's different ways how failures are handled and recovery is done. And also there's in the setup that we have seen earlier with this very single job tracker. This is of course not the best setup, because if this one is failing, all the jobs will be cancelled. And this has been improved later on, for instance in Hadoop 2, using this Yarn resource manager. But we will not go into detail because this always depends also on the application, on the individual implementation. And we are mainly concerned understanding how MapReduce works in coming up with these functions, and also get a first idea how these systems, how these frameworks work for distributed big data processing. And here is a similar idea for this handling of failures for HDFS. Again, this also depends on the individual implementation of the distributed file system. Here it's HDFS, so it's Hadoop distributed file system. Also here we have data nodes that can die, they can be turning slow because of network issues or hardware failures or software failures, and then these have to be marked as dead, and then the application has to continue to keep to replicate blocks which were on these machines that failed. And again, this is only one way or one aspect. We are happy that this has been done, but we're not looking in the details how this was actually implemented. When you're setting up your data center or your compute infrastructure in your server room, then you can specify the topology of the setup in a config file, and then for instance, you can specify that this machine here with this IP address is positioned in data center 1 in rack 0, and so on. You do this for all the machines, and then Hadoop is able to come up with a cost model or with a cost estimate based on a simple cost model. We have already seen that in the beginning or discussed that very briefly. So if you have one data chunk on one machine and you want to instantiate the map process on the same machine, that's of course the best thing you can do, because there's no shipping around of data cost involved. But if you're shipping data to a machine on a different node but the same rack, there's a higher cost involved, and here's a little or simple cost model applied in this early version in Hadoop in order to say what is the best assignment, for instance, of these task processes to the nodes in the network. You can also implement your Hadoop jobs and run them in Amazon Web Services. There's an implementation of Hadoop called, or the service is called Elastic MapReduce. And the data here is stored in S3 storage containers, like this is like the storage engine or service that Amazon is providing. And you're doing it the same way you're doing it on your local machine. setup or your local data center cluster, you're creating a MapReduce job by uploading your custom jar file. Here in this case, you upload it to Amazon Web Services, and then you can observe that the machines are starting. These machines are run, of course, in Amazon data centers, and for instance, they're running also Hadoop MapReduce, and then in this case, you can then monitor when it's running the number of instances, and in the end also you see the results of your computation is stored in S3.